must admit I'm a bit out of my depth in the London Stock Exchange. I'm not sure whether it's a national institution or a kind of Monte Carlo for the better millionaire adventurers. I suppose like Wall Street or the Bourse in Paris or the Borsa in Milan, it's best described as a dreamland of perpetual capital gains. Anyway, it's a great place to study the effect of money on the human psyche. Excuse me. Hey, Nora. Nora Preston.
Simon! Oh, what a wonderful surprise!
What are you doing here in this clubby preserve of the rich?
Oh, just observing.
Are you living in London now?
No Hurley, no Maidenhead. No, I'm working for Marvin Chase now.
Oh, the Marvin Chase, the industrialist?
Yes.
I'd like to meet him.
Well, he knows you. But I guess everybody knows Simon Templar.
It's absurd of the government to think that these measures will curb inflationary tendencies. Instead, they will seriously damage the business community's faith in the future. In my opinion, we must...
Mr. Chase's residence? Oh, yes, Lord Kennington.
I've left for London.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I'm afraid Mr. Chase has left for town. Yes, I'll tell him. Not at all. Goodbye.
Where was I?
In my opinion, we must.
It's all right, Thompson. I'll take it.
Yes, Mrs. Chase.
Hello, Rosemary.
Oh, hello, Jim. Come in.
How are you?
I'm all right.
How's that charming stepdaughter of yours?
Oh, Ellen's fine. She's home, midterm holidays. Afraid we weren't expecting you.
Am I ever expected in this house? I see you've got another new car.
Yes.
Lovely to be rich, isn't it?
I like it. Look, it really is a very awkward time.
Yes, my arrivals are usually rather awkward. Well, is my revered brother in the castle?
If you set such store in being his brother, why don't you behave like one? When you talk like this, it irritates me, and it absolutely infuriates Marvin.
My, but we are touchy this morning, aren't we? This is very sudden, All this concern over Marvin's emotions? Where is he? The study?
He's leaving for London in a few moments, and he can't be disturbed. If you like, you can have a talk with Bertrand Tamblyn.
This is not, I'm afraid, a matter for Marvin's so-called executive assistant. This is personal. Marvin's going to see me this time, whether it's convenient or not.
Who was that?
It's Jim.
What's he doing here?
I don't know. I tried to persuade him to talk to you, but he insisted on seeing Marvin.
Oh, well, it's probably something unimportant.
You don't think he suspects about us, do you?
Not possibly.
Jim has a way of finding out things.
Darling, relax. I love you very much.
I know. I do wish Jim hadn't come. What on earth do you suppose he wants?
Marvin, I'm begging. And after all, I am your brother.
Since you insist on bringing the dear brother element into a business discussion, let me give you a few cold facts. You were stealing money from my pockets when you were 7 years old. You have a pathological inability to keep your hands off other people's money. You even went to jail for it. And you're not cured yet.
I am.
You're worthless, incompetent, and basically a crook. Once more, you're weak. And I detest weakness.
I detest your kind of strength. It's ruthless and cruel.
But honest.
Marvin, I've had this job 10 years. I need it.
I'm taking over the Brooke Dewhurst Company within the next 5 weeks. The day I get control, you're out.
You hate me, don't you?
Not at all. I have no feelings about you whatsoever.
Nor anybody else.
Perhaps. Except Ellen.
And all I can say, brother dear, is God help that poor child with you for a father.
Have a good trip, Daddy.
Thanks, Poppet.
You won't forget my riding boots.
Oh, never. Thank you, Thompson. I've got everything, Tamlin?
Yes, sir. Goodbye, Mrs. Chase.
Goodbye.
Oh, I'll take that, Nora.
Have a good trip.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Chase.
Be good, Poppet.
I will, Daddy.
Bye, darling.
Goodbye, Marvin.
Hey, it's London, not Australia. I'll phone you tomorrow.
Are you all right, Rosemary?
Yes, I'm fine. I just worry about your father sometimes. He drives so recklessly.
But Daddy's a marvelous driver.
Yes, of course. Run along now, dear. I've got some letters to write.
First, I'll get you some coffee.
Mr. Chase, will you please take it easy?
What's the matter, Tamlin? You nervous?
No, it's just that I don't like driving at 60 miles an hour along country roads, that's all.
Well, that's not the only reason you're nervous. Is it?
What do you mean?
I'm not completely blind.
Too fast, Mr. Chase. Bloomin' rich road dogs. Think they own the earth.
A directory? I'd like the number of a Mr. Marvin Chase in Hurley. Yes, that's right, Berkshire. Fine, thank you.
Mr. Chase's residence?
Oh, could I speak to Miss Prescott, please?
Nora Prescott speaking.
Oh, Nora, it's Simon Templer.
Simon.
Nora, I just read about the accident. It's terrible.
It was simply awful. He was terribly badly burned trying to save Mr. Tamlin's life.
Well, how did it happen?
Just as it says in the papers.
Well, you're sure it was an accident?
Why?
Well, no reason. It's just that I'm always a little suspicious when millionaires narrowly escape death. Okay. Nora, when you're in town, give me a call. We'll have lunch, hmm? Fine.
Goodbye. It's awful to see Daddy like this. Dr. Quintus, is he suffering?
Not now, Miss Chase.
But he is out of danger.
Oh, completely. I think it would be best if you left him now. He's under heavy sedation, and he'll probably sleep through the night.
Oh, Mr. Chase, is there anything I can do? Anything?
I don't think so. Carry on as best you can. Won't be easy without Mr. Tamblyn, but try. Come on, Helen. Good night, Nora.
Good night, Mrs. Chase.
May I come in?
Yes, of course. Although I hardly expected to see you.
Well, I came down as soon as I could.
You needn't have bothered.
Oh, no bother. After all, he is my brother.
And so you keep saying. What do you want this time?
Merely to pay my respects to the hero. I hear he wouldn't have been hurt at all if he hadn't tried to save Tamlin. Well, can I see him? To congratulate him?
Don't you realize he's very ill? He was badly burned.
Rosemary, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was so serious.
Well, you do now.
Thank you, Thompson.
How do you feel, Mr. Chase?
I told you, Thompson, it hurts Mr. Chase to talk. For Miss Prescott? A note for Miss Prescott.
Yes, Doctor.
Mr. Creighton, I'm only doing what he tells me. Yes, well, he's selling his Enfield Petroleum because the dividend wasn't nearly covered by profits. Oh, no, he's not allowed visitors yet. Yes. Yes, I'll let you know. Yes, well, in the meantime, you're to sell all the Enfield stock at the current market price. Yes. Thanks, Mr. Creighton. Goodbye.
From Mr. Chase, miss.
Have you seen him this morning?
Yes, miss, just now.
I'm awfully worried. You know, I don't think Mr. Chase is...
Is what, miss?
Oh, it's nothing, Thompson. I'm sorry, forget it.
Good, miss.
All I care about is Marvin getting better, and he won't if people keep pestering him about business.
But surely I could see him for 2 minutes.
Why? To talk him out of the Brook Dewhurst takeover? Is that what's worrying you? Your job? Come in.
Oh, Mrs. Chase. Look, he's just written me this note.
Well?
Well, telling me to sell his Brook Dewhurst holdings to the Eldon Company. And at the current market value.
Let me see.
Well, I mean, he and Mr. Tamlin spent months getting control of that company. I just don't understand this sudden switch.
Why don't you do as he tells you without arguing? You obeyed without question when he was well.
When he was well, he didn't ask me to do things like this.
But it's marvelous he's had a change of heart.
Look, Nora, if you really want to help, do as my husband asks, will you?
Yes, Mrs. Chase. Of course.
What is it, Miss Prescott?
Oh, I have to see him. It's urgent.
He's resting.
Well, that's too bad. Oh, Mr. Chase. It's me, Nora. Can you hear me? Do you really want me to sell your Brook Dewhurst holdings? But you took months getting control of that company. Why do you suddenly want to sell out to the Eldon Group?
Miss Prescott, his face and lips were badly burned. Talking may disturb the scar tissue and leave him permanently disfigured.
Wouldn't you like to think it over, Mr. Chase? But you'll lose nearly £70,000.
Sell, Nora. Sell.
That's enough. Leave him alone.
Dr. Quintus, you're a physician. You're not president of the Chase Company. Oh, Mr. Chase, are you sure you know what you're doing?
Sell, Nora. Sell.
How much authority do you need? Now, leave him alone and do as you're told, or we'll have to find somebody who will. I'm not interested in his deals. All I want is for him to regain his health and to minimize the disfigurement. Now, you're not to bother him again. That young lady is dangerous, Mr. Chase. Very dangerous.
Oh, operator, could you give me a number in London for Templar? Simon Templar. Yes, it's, 53 Grosvenor Mews.
Hello?
Oh, is that you, Simon?
Yeah, speaking. Who's this?
Simon, it's Nora Prescott.
Hello, Nora. How are you?
Well, not very well, I'm afraid.
Oh, why? What's the matter?
Well, I'm pretty desperate. I've got to see you. Look, I think I'm being made an accomplice in some sort of gigantic fraud. Yes, well, I can't go to the police because I've no actual proof. Could you possibly come down here and see me?
Well, of course I can. When and where?
Tonight. Look, there's a pub in Hurley called The Anchor. Do you know it? Would 8 o'clock suit you?
Of course. Fine. See you then.
Simon, thanks. Oh, I feel better already. Goodbye.
Jim!
I just thought that Marvin wouldn't mind. I mean, just for a minute or two.
I don't know how to put it any more clearly than I have. But Marvin is a very sick man, and I will not have him disturbed.
Rosemary, something's going on in this house.
What do you mean?
I don't quite know, but I'm not the only one that feels it. Nora Prescott has just telephoned Simon Templar. She's meeting him at the Anchor tonight at 8.
What for?
She wants to talk to him.
Obviously. But what about?
Well, about whatever's going on in this house.
There's nothing going on in this house, except that some people are waiting for Marvin to die. He's provided for everyone quite liberally in his will, including Nora, and including you. I don't know why he's selling his holdings, but whatever his reasons are, they're his. It's his money and his life, and I won't have him interfered with.
Aren't you protesting a little too much?
Jim, will you leave now, please?
I'm not quite prepared to do that yet. What do you know about this Dr. Quintus character?
How dare you?
Answer my question.
He's been our family doctor for 5 years. He's an excellent physician and an old friend.
Rosemary,
Oh, good morning, dear.
can I see Daddy for a minute?
Yes, dear. Try not to make him talk.
I promise.
Come in.
How is he?
About the same as usual.
Daddy, it's me. Don't try and say anything, but I'm here. You will get better quickly, won't you?
Of course he will.
Does it hurt awfully? It won't be long before we're riding again like we used to. You'll see.
Dear puppet.
That's enough, dear, please. He mustn't talk.
All right.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Whiskey soda, please.
Yes, sir.
Oh, thanks. Have one yourself, will you?
Thank you, sir. Excuse me, sir, but aren't you Simon Templar?
Yes, how do you know?
I thought I recognized you from your picture in the paper. Well, it's a pleasure to serve you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Do you, by any chance, know Marvin Chase?
Everybody around these parts knows Marvin Chase, sir. He only lives 2 minutes down the road. In fact, this pub is almost on his property.
Excuse me, sir. Are you Mr. Templar?
Yes, you have a message from Miss Preston.
Yes, sir. She would like you to meet her at the boathouse.
And where's that?
Look out the front door, sir. Turn right, down to the river, along the towpath, and the boathouse is on the left. It's a green door, sir. You can't miss it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Well,
Sir,
you think I can get a room here tonight?
Mr. Templar, you can get a room here anytime.
Simon, I thought you'd never...
Nora? Stand where you are! Who the blazes are you?
Jim Chase, Marvin Chase's brother.
Put that switch on. She's dead. What are you doing here?
I followed you.
Why?
Well, I knew that Nora had a date with you.
How?
I heard her telephone you earlier today, arranged to meet you at the Anchor date.
You any idea who did this or why?
No, I don't know. But I thought Nora knew something.
What?
I've no idea. That's why I came along tonight. I thought she was going to tell you, and I thought that I might be able to overhear.
All right, you can stop trembling. I believe you.
What are we going to do now?
I'll go to the Anchor and call the police. You stay here.
Mrs. Chase, how long had Miss Prescott worked for your husband?
About 5 years.
Did you know she'd meeting Mr. Templar tonight?
No.
Yes, you did. I told you.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I forgot. I did know.
Inspector. Nobody could have known in advance that Nora would change our meeting place from the Anchor to the boathouse.
You think the killer was in the Anchor when Miss Prescott arrived?
Or else waiting outside.
And why not kill her before she went in?
I think he was after us both. He probably assumed I'd walk Nora home. It's only a few minutes' walk from the Anchor to this house. And when she left so abruptly, he followed her to the boathouse.
Forgetting about you?
No. No, if he was watching from outside, he'd know we hadn't talked. She was only in the bar about 15 seconds. He followed her to the boathouse and killed her. Then waited for me to turn up. Mrs. Chase, Nora Prescott said something to me on the phone about there being a gigantic fraud in this house. You any idea what she meant?
None whatever.
Then I'm afraid I'll have to question your husband.
Inspector, please. He's terribly ill. He's not allowed to talk.
Then I'll be very brief. I'm sorry, Mr. Chase. I insist.
And I suppose I can't stop you.
Do you need me any more tonight, Inspector?
No, not tonight, but I want to question you further in the morning.
I'll get a room at the Anchor. I'll be available any time you want me.
Thank you.
Good night, Rosemary.
Good night.
Ellen, I'll see you, Templar.
I'm sure you will.
Now, if I could see your husband, Mr. Chase.
Inspector, is this really necessary?
I think so.
Ellen, I think you should go to bed.
I couldn't possibly sleep. I'll stay here till you come down.
All right, dear.
Mr. Templar, I must talk to you alone.
Well?
Nora was right. There is something going on in this house.
Tell me.
Well, in the first place, Dr. Quintus never leaves Daddy's room. Well, not until everyone else is in bed. And in the morning, he's back before they're up.
Is he staying in the house?
Yes, in the guest room next to Daddy's. I asked Rosemary about it, and she said he was just protecting him from being disturbed.
Ellen, what are you getting at?
I think Rosemary and Dr. Quintus are doing something to him.
You mean something like drugs?
I don't know, but he's so strange since they brought him home.
That is to be expected. He's ill, he's in pain.
I know. Of course, he's trying to keep his business affairs going, which is hard on him, but he's different somehow. They're doing something to him. And Nora knew it. That's why she was killed.
Ellen, I don't think we can talk here. Can you meet me for lunch tomorrow at the Anchor? Say 1 o'clock.
Yes, I'll be there. I wish I knew what was happening to him.
It's no use waiting, Inspector. He's under heavy sedation.
Why?
A, because he's in pain, and B, because the news of Nora Prescott's death upset him terribly.
All right, Doctor. Sorry to have troubled you, Mrs. Chase. Good night.
Good night, Inspector.
Simon, I'm a broker, not a psychologist. However, the city's fairly buzzing with rumors about Marvin Chase, and the general picture I've been able to put together is that he's rather rapidly turning all his assets into either cash or highly negotiable securities.
I wonder why.
Well, I've no idea. Mind you, there's nothing irregular in what he's doing. It's just unusual.
How?
Well, businessmen as brilliant and as profit-conscious as Marvin Chase don't usually block sell.
Meaning?
Meaning that yesterday alone, in one transaction, he unloaded over £250,000 worth of Canon Lovell oil. Well, usually a sale as large as this is broken up.
How?
50,000 here, 20,000 there. Spread over a few days so as not to depress the price. Instead, what happened?
Canon Lovell dropped.
10 shillings between noon and the closing of the market.
So Chase took a loss.
Well, only on some of it, but even so, he quite literally threw away almost £30,000.
Needlessly.
That's incredible, isn't it? Mind you, if Bertrand Tamblyn had been alive, this wouldn't have happened.
You knew Tamblyn?
Oh, yes, very well.
What was he like?
Oh, brilliant. Shrewd, tireless, tremendous capacity for detail. Chase was devoted to him, and quite rightly, too. Relied on him, trusted him completely.
What about his brother?
Jim Chase. Poor Jim. Nobody pays much attention to him anymore.
Why?
He went to jail for embezzlement. Nasty business. Marvin made good his loss, and Jim got off with, 18 months. Very lucky he didn't get 10 years. Simon, why do you want to know all this?
Because there's something going on in the Chase house, something evil. And I intend to get to the bottom of it.
Morning, sir.
Ellen, been here long?
No.
Thank you. How are you?
A little nervous.
Oh, why?
Well, after all, when Nora met you here,
You mustn't be nervous.
I'm not really. Have you found out anything?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've had quite a busy morning.
Doing what?
A little exploratory work in the city. Not that your father's brokers would tell me anything, but from the bits of information I picked up on the stock exchange, he's evidently liquidating his entire empire.
But why?
I've no idea. Tell me, Ellen, what do you know about the accident?
Well, Daddy was speeding, I suppose. He does sometimes. It was a godsend. The car crashed almost opposite Dr. Quintus's house.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yes, just a few yards away. Now, what else? Well, it was 9 minutes past 11, and the car was just
How
going
can you
round...
be sure of the exact time?
Well, that's when the car clock stopped.
Car clocks aren't usually very dependable.
Ours was. Daddy's terribly fussy about time. He knows exactly how long it takes to get to London, and he's never late for an appointment.
Outside Quintus's house.
Is that important?
I've no idea, but it's quite a coincidence. Where does he live?
Coal Cottage, Taplow.
Oh, I think we'd better order. Yes.
Postman, is this the right road for Dr. Quintus's house, Coal Cottage?
Yes, straight ahead, down the hill. On the right, about half a mile. He isn't there, though. He's up taking charge of Mr. Marvin Chase.
Well, how do you know?
I know most things that go on around these parts.
Do you know anything about the accident?
I seen Mr. Chase go past here just seconds before it happened. 11 o'clock. He shot past me doing about 60 miles an hour.
Well, surely it was later than 11.
On the dot.
How can you be so sure?
This box is cleared at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. I haven't been late in 20 years for the clearance.
The accident happened at 9 minutes past 11.
Who says so?
Well, the car clock, it was salvaged. It read 11:09.
Clock's wrong.
Well, supposing the clock was accurate, then we have a time discrepancy, don't we?
What?
A problem. How can a car traveling at 60 miles an hour take 9 minutes to cover half a mile?
It's impossible.
It sure is. Well, thanks anyway.
Yes, that's right. Direct flight to Buenos Aires Saturday morning. 3 seats. Mr. and Mrs. Marvin Chase and Dr. Howard Quintus. Yes, that's right, Quintus. I'll see that the tickets are picked up tomorrow morning. Thank you. Goodbye. Darling, don't stand by the window. Somebody might see you. I'm taking him to Buenos Aires for a complete rest.
Rather a long way to go for a rest, isn't it?
Look, Jim, you've got what you wanted. Marvin isn't taking over Brook Dewhurst, so your job is safe.
And now you want me to leave you alone?
Exactly.
Sorry. You want to get rid of me, and I think I know why.
If you don't leave the house at once, I'm going to call the police and have you put out.
My dear girl, I shall be happy to leave the moment I have a little chat with my brother. Alone. Ah. Visitors.
You're right on time.
Where is everybody?
Rosemary and Uncle Jim are in the lounge. Dr. Quintus is upstairs with Daddy.
The servants?
Cook and Thompson are in the kitchen.
What about Thompson? Reliable?
Absolutely.
Know your lines?
I think so. It's all right, Thompson.
All right, miss.
Good evening.
Templar!
How did you get in here?
I let him in.
Yes, Ellen and I have worked out a little game of questions and answers, which we're
Ellen,
all...
why are you doing this?
I'm not sure.
I'm afraid she's as confused as I am.
Mr. Templar, I know your reputation. You ride roughshod over anyone in your path. But I'm warning you, I won't tolerate any interference in our affairs. You've no right whatever to be in this house.
I think I have every right. A friend of mine, Nora Prescott, was murdered because she asked for my help. I intend to find out who did it and why.
That's a problem for the police.
Mrs. Chase, there is some sort of fraud going on in this house, and I intend to break it up.
Yeah.
You interrupt once more, and I'll throw you out. Now, please sit down. Ellen, how long does it take a car traveling at 60 miles an hour to go half a mile?
30 seconds.
Would you agree with that, Mrs. Chase? I'll assume you do. It's a fairly elementary mathematical problem. Now, Ellen, why was your father, when he was suffering with severe burns, not taken to hospital?
I don't know.
It was Mr. Chase's preference.
Oh? You mean that a man suffering with severe shock, third-degree burns of the face, head and hands, actually asked not to be taken to hospital?
He did.
Why? Is he part of the fraud, too?
There is no fraud, Mr. Templar, and whether or not my
Mrs.
husband...
Chase, I've not quite finished. Ellen, 2 people are now dead. Nora Prescott and Bertram Tamblyn. What do these 2 have in common?
They both worked for my father.
And shared a great deal of his confidence.
Yes.
You'd agree, then, that Tamblyn and Nora knew more about the business details of your father's life than any other 2 in the world.
Yes, I would.
I won't tolerate any more of this.
Mrs. Chase, I've never hit a woman in my life, but there can always be a first time. Now sit down. Ellen, I believe your Uncle Jim has been to jail.
Yes.
I've never tried to hide it.
I told you not to interrupt. Why?
Embezzlement of some kind.
In other words, fraud.
Yes.
If you want to take this, go ahead. I've had enough.
So have I.
He can go, you can't. Mrs. Chase, we haven't quite finished our game yet. There are 1 or 2 more questions. Was Tamblyn murdered, or was it really an accident?
Of course it was an accident.
A planned accident?
I don't know what you're talking about. The car went out of control and crashed.
All right, we accept the fact it was an accident. But Nora Prescott was murdered. Did you do it?
Don't be ridiculous.
You knew she was meeting me.
So did Jim.
But you have something to hide. He doesn't. After following her to the anchor and then to the boathouse, did you stab her?
I won't dignify that question with an answer.
Thompson, are the service stairs?
Yes, sir.
Watch them.
Yes, sir.
Stay here. You all right?
I heard a scuffle. I came out, got hit.
He's dead. You see who did it?
There was a man. He went into Mr. Chase's room.
Mr. Chase, did you see anybody? You went through the window, is that what you mean?
Out window. Hurry.
Ellen, Mrs. Chase?
What is it? What's happened?
You'd both better come in here.
Mr. Templar, what's wrong?
Jim's been murdered.
No.
And Dr. Quintus?
He's all right.
Maidenhead Police, Sergeant Williams.
Simon Templar, could I speak to Inspector Welland, please?
Hold on, sir. Inspector Welland speaking.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
What is it?
The line's being cut. You both stay in here.
find out anything?
Yes, the wires were cut underneath your father's bedroom window.
Do you want me to phone from the anchor? I can be there in 2 minutes.
Yes, tell Inspector Welland about the murder and tell him I know who did it.
Right.
Oh, Ellen,
Yes?
wait for me at the anchor, will you?
Why?
Just do as I ask.
All right.
It's all gone wrong, hasn't it, Mrs. Chase? Ah, the great physician in person.
Mr. Templar, I'm sorry if I fumbled things upstairs, but it all happened so quickly.
And so unexpectedly.
Yes, that too. Have you called the police?
I can't. And you know why.
Mr. Templar, I don't like your tone. If you know something that I don't, the least you can do is to tell me.
Mrs. Chase, would you ring for Thompson, please?
The bell's over there.
You're very quiet, Mrs. Chase.
I have nothing to say.
Until you speak to your lawyers, is that it?
Mr. Templar, what's behind these implications?
Jim's death was a stupid, senseless mistake, wasn't it? It's wrecked the whole scheme.
Yes.
Rosemary, keep quiet.
Quintus, it's finished. He knows.
Yes, I also know, Dr. Quintus, that you botched an operation 2 months ago.
That's a lie.
Is it? Then why is the British Medical Association holding a full inquiry next month?
I was wrongfully accused. I'll be acquitted.
For being drunk in the operating theatre? When the Medical Association meets, you'll be struck off the register. You won't be able to practice anywhere in England. Oh, yes, Dr. Quintus. You were made to order because no reputable physician would have stood for the deal. That'll be far enough, Dr. Quintus. Sit down next to Mrs. Chase. It's all over, Mrs. Chase.
Yes, I know.
The risks were enormous, but so was the reward. But you have money already. What else did you want?
Oh, does it matter now?
A new life, perhaps?
Something like that.
Everyone knew your husband was a reckless driver, so you planned the accident.
No, Quintus did.
Rosemary, are you out of your mind? You can't prove a thing.
You might have gotten away with it. If Jim Chase hadn't gone upstairs and heard you talking to your patient. Well, Thompson, for your information, Dr. Quintus and Mrs. Chase are involved in 3 murders. Miss Allen's gone down to call the police at the anchor now. You handle one of these things?
I had some experience during the war, sir.
If they try to move, you know what to do.
Yes, sir.
Well. Planning on a trip, Mr. Chase? I wouldn't bother packing. I don't think you're going to get very far. The game is up. I might have gone on believing it to the end if it hadn't been for the blood on the bandages. You killed Jim Chase, didn't you, Tamblin? Just as you killed Marvin Chase and Nora Prescott. Take the rest of them off.
Just a little too clever this time, Mr. Templar.
Terribly sorry. I knew it'd be a shock. That's why I told you to wait here. I wanted to tell you myself.
I can't believe it. Daddy was so vital.
So terribly strong.
I'll take you home. Thank you. Ellen, try and get some sleep.
Good night.
Good night.
How'd she take it?
Oh, not very well, I'm afraid. She'll be all right, though. I'll call her in the morning.
Well, I hand it to you, Templar. You outguessed us all.
Now, what really started me thinking was Dodds the postman. I kept worrying about that other 9 minutes. What happened was Tamlin asked Chase to let him drive the car. Chase agreed and stopped.
And Tamlin killed him and faked the burning car crash.
Right in front of Quintus's house.
What's so incredible is Tamlin coming back here as Marvin Chase.
Well, he was bandaged, he talked in a low, sick whisper, and he had Rosemary and Quintus to keep people away from him. He nearly had his hands on the bulk of Chase's fortune.
What finally tipped it for you?
When I realized that the one person without any alibi at all was our invisible millionaire. Good night, Inspector.
Good night.